All right, so here's our second video for composition of functions. Here are two functions that are given, and what we're going to do is we're going to have four different compositions that we're going to find. We've got this one here, f of g. We're going to do also g of f, and then we're going to do two more, and I'll write them down in a moment. F of g, it was in the last video where we had f of g of x. But in the last video, x was actually filled in. In this case, you would have, so it's like saying, sorry, my tablet's messing up. So f of g of x, like that. So there's no number here. So when I have that, I'm going to put g of x in, which is this value right here. That's g of x for the x value. So that's going to be 5 plus x squared. So everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put this whole thing in there, this polynomial in, and it only goes in for this one spot here. So I'm going to do 6 minus 4 times 5 plus x squared. So that's 6 minus, and negative 4 times 5 is 20, and then negative 4 times x squared is minus 4x squared. So 6 minus 20 is negative 14 minus 4x squared. So this is my answer right here. This is what I'm looking for, f of g of x. Now, for all of these problems on MyMathLab, you're also going to be asked for a domain. Remember, the domain of something like this, because there's no x in the denominator, is just all reals. So I'm going to have negative infinity to infinity. Now, for g of f, let me just write in the x because I prefer it like that. This is where we have g of f of x. Now, this one's going to be a little bit harder, and I'll show you why. Here's my f of x. I'm putting it in. 6 minus 4x. Okay, so this whole thing goes in everywhere there's an x and g. So where does that go? We got 5 plus, and now we have our x, and this is 6 minus 4x squared. This is kind of hard because we can't just distribute the squared. This is the same thing as saying 5 plus 6 minus 4x times 6 minus 4x. So we have to FOIL it if you wanted to use that term, where you do 6 times 6, 6 times negative 4. So that's going to be 36 minus 24. And then now I'll do this one here, and that's minus 24x. Excuse me, I didn't say the x before. And then minus 4x times minus 4x is plus 16x squared. So I still have the 5. So basically, this g of f of x is 41 minus 48x plus 16x squared. Now, you could leave it like this. I think MyMathLab will accept it. Or you could write it where you do it in descending value, but it's still the same thing. I'm not going to tell anyone if you don't. So this is the harder one to do, so make sure that you practice these on the homework. Now, the last two on the homework are doing f of f, and then there's the g of f, or excuse me, g of g. So f of f is the same as f with f of x inside of it. So we're going to get f of 6 minus 4x. So that's 6 minus 4 times 6 minus 4x. Remember that this goes in everywhere there's an x, and the only place there's an x is right here. So I have 6 minus 24 plus 16x, and that's going to be negative 18 plus 16x. So that's going to be, and again, the domain, all reals because there's no problem points. The g of g is a little bit harder, of course. This is g with g of x in here. So that's g with 5 plus x squared going in there. Okay, so the whole thing goes in for x. So that's 5 plus x squared squared. Now, I worked out all the steps on this one. I guess I can do the same thing here. I kind of want to jump ahead, but that's okay. Yeah, I guess this way you'll be able to fast forward it if you already know the answer. So we have this. So 5 times 5, so 5 plus 25, 5 times x squared plus 5x squared, and then x squared times 5, and then I have plus x to the 4th. So our final on this one will be 30 plus 10x squared plus x to the 4th. That is the answer.